In today's video, I'm going to be going over another piece of evidence against the Welsh witches. And I admit that I do have it in for them because I think ultimately they're responsible for what's going on with this new world order. And on a personal level, my mother being murdered with the crown virus viper and also my son being poisoned by similar witchcraft. So most of the videos on this channel are a witch hunt. Yes, but you don't have to hunt too hard to find out who they are. It seems that they are at the bottom of every rabbit hole. So now that that admission is out of the way, this one will be kind of weird and obscure because it also does fit into the Nephilim theme. So I hope that I explain it well. So the backstory is that there is this person who's been a guest on some of the truther channels who claims to be an SRA victim of a bloodline family. And one of the things they said is that this went on at Lake Havasu City in Arizona. And the disclaimer here is that I don't think we can believe everything we hear from people on the internet, but I also do concede that this type of thing does go on and is possible. So, what they said was that the London Bridge was purchased by this developer and shipped over to Lake Havasu City to rebuild over the Colorado River to support tourism and a resort of theme park in the 60s. But they also said that the land was under ownership of the City of London and outside the jurisdiction of any U.S. law, and that's how they got away with the crimes against children. So when they were talking about the City of London, that piqued my interest, so I looked into that, and I have confirmed that part of that story about the bridge and the land ownership is true. It says here that Lake Havasu City community first started in World War II as an Army Corps rest camp. Then businessman Robert McCullough purchased it after that, and it was established in 1963 by resolution of the Mojave County as the Lake Havasu Irrigation and Drainage District, making it a legal entity, and the city incorporated in 1978. It says that hoping to attract tourists and prospective buyers of residential lots, McCullough bought the London Bridge for $2.5 million from the City of London in England, and then marked stones were shipped to Lake Havasu City and reassembled for $7 million. And this shows you that reassembly there. It says London Bridge crosses the narrow Bridgewater Channel that leads from Lake Havasu segment of the Colorado River to Thompson Bay. And apparently this whole thing was set up as a sort of like resort and tourist attraction with an old English village with kind of cheesy storefronts, sort of like a theme park or whatever. But it didn't seem to thrive as a community. But the interesting part here is that McCullough did give an acre of land, according to this, in the Lake Havasu City to London, the City of London. And it doesn't say why. But then it says, when the Lake Havasu City wanted to use that land, that acre of land that they've given to the City of London, for a visitor's center, London leased it back to them for a quit rent of a Hopi Kachina figure. That's what it says there. So I was like, what? So that piqued my interest because I've been following this Understanding Conspiracy channel, and that host makes a very good case for clowns being a caricature of what Nephilim used to look like. And he goes into a lot of similar costumes from various cultures around the world that look clownish, colorful, Nephilimish. And when I saw this Kachina figure, I immediately thought of that. And as it turns out, yeah. So listen to this about these Kachina figures. In Hopi cosmology, the majority of Kachinas reside 60 miles west of the Hopi Reservation, and the Hopi Reservation being in Arizona near this Lake Havasu City. And here's the legend of the Kachina. Each year throughout the period from the winter solstice to mid-July, spirits in the form of Kachinas come down to the villages to dance and sing and bring rain for the upcoming harvest and give gifts to the children. The Kachinas are known to be the spirits of deities, natural elements or animals, or the deceased ancestors of the Hopi. In Hopi cosmology, the majority of Kachinas reside on Humphreys Peak, 60 miles west of the Hopi Reservation. So they say that these Kachinas are spirits that actually live on a mountain near the reservation. It says prior to each Kachina ceremony, the men of the village will spend days studiously making figures in the likeness of the Kachina represented in that particular ceremony. The figures are then passed on to the daughters of the village by the giver Kachina during the ceremony. And following the ceremony, the figures are hung on the walls of the pueblo and are meant to be studied in order to learn the characteristics of that certain Kachina. Essentially, it's a constant reminder of the Kachinas. And these are them. They're all different. Hopi Kachina figures are also known as Kachina dolls. They're carved from cottonwood by Hopi people to instruct young girls and new brides about Kachinas, which are the immortal beings that bring rain and control other aspects of the natural world and society and act as messengers between humans and the spirit world. The authentic ones are made very meticulously, and to be authentic they have to be made by a male of the Hopi tribe, it says. And the ones made by the women don't count as authentic because they're used for trade. They're just used for trade. To be authentic, they have to have proper features that correspond to the appearance and function of the Kachina's deity, regalia, colors, all having to do with the type of spirit god they represent. Some of the other symbols are an inverted V that signifies certain Kachina officials and the phallic symbols which represent fertility. It says there are over 200 types of these figures. And it does talk about clowns. It says clowns participate in the Hopi celebrations and sacred rituals. They have dual functions. The most prominent role is to amuse the audience. They perform as jesters or circus clowns. And as a result, they have entertaining antics and are a favorite figure that gets sold to tourists and collectors are those clowns. The second role and the more subtle role is the Kachina sacred rituals. The sacred function of the clowns are relatively private, if not held secret, by the Hopi, and as a result have received less public exposure. So there you have it. The London Bridge was moved to Arizona, and a parcel of land was given to the city of London for some reason. According to this self-proclaimed SRA victim, it was for legal deniability reasons, or whatever you call it. And in order for that land that was gifted to the city of London to be used as a visitor center by that resort, if you believe the story about it, the city of London took payment for that in the form of a Kachina doll, which represent Nephilim spirits of the Hopi tribe, which just sounds like witchcraft all day long. Thanks for listening.